Okay, so we're back. For those just joining us, we are moving on to the social services departments and then general town government in the Board of Finance budget hearings for the 2021-22 municipal budget. And Michelle Jacob is here with us. We're going to be joining us on page 341 in the budget books for those wishing to follow along to discuss social services. Hi, Michelle.
Hi, good afternoon.
So you want to walk us through the past year and then where your budget request is?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think listening to Megan previously, all of our goals were set aside clearly because of the pandemic. So we just dropped everything we were working on and everybody got to work and ensured that we were able to feed everybody and meet everybody's needs that needed our assistance. So that was a huge focus this year. Some of the programs that we had goals for last year were small. So I think next year, what we're looking to do for our goals is reevaluate everything. We don't know what to expect when our seniors come back, what the needs will be. We've created programs that we don't know if we want them to continue to exist based on needs. So a lot of it will be evaluation.
Any highlights in the budget request, areas that we should be watching?
No, nothing too significant. We had some small changes in like staff training and staff development. Otherwise, I think, I don't think I had anything else significant in there. We have a new organization we'd like to join, but besides that, everything else is the same.
Mr. Barker.
Madam Chair, Director, is it Jacob or Jacob? I'm so sorry.
They're both right, but we can go with Jacob.
Jacob, okay, thank you. And I should have listened when Laney got it wrong. Michael Barker, Board of Finance. You referenced in your aspirations for this year, growth in new clients due to the pandemic. And I just wondered if you had any thoughts on whether that's going to be sustained after the pandemic comes to a close, and if there are any staffing or other expense implications either for this year or going forward.
I think that's something that we are going to find out. We started the 2020 fiscal year. Last fiscal year, we had about 219 families we were serving in our food pantry. When COVID hit in March, from March to June, we picked up an additional 177 clients. And now we're probably picking up an additional 20 per month since then. So these are individuals we want to see if they'll continue to use our services. We have a great team of volunteers in our food pantry, but it is something that we will be evaluating over the year to see if that growth continues. So I think as of now, I don't see the need, but we will be watching for that.
Thank you.
Excellent. Elaine?
Yeah. Okay, let's see. Hi, Michelle. One of the things we talked about earlier, and one of the things that concerns me is, and I'm going to overlap between your duties as senior and as social services. We're saying we've noticed a very marked increase in grocery prices. And it concerns us along the way that we also now have a lot of people whose income has been certainly markedly impacted by the pandemic. So we see a lot more food insecurities. And I know that your pantry has been working on multiple ways of outreaching people. But do we feel like we have enough to help the people we know are in need right now? Rena was talking about the new restaurant program where they will be able to order. We were discussing ways of getting it delivered. I know you've done a lot. I know that we are arranging homebound seniors to get injections, their COVID injections. But is it becoming overwhelming for the relatively limited staff you have?
I think, everything's so fluid. 1 week is just insanity for us. And the next week we get a break and everything calms down. And luckily these things have all kind of hit us one at a time. So, because the senior center closed down, although we're still doing virtual programs, I have the entire senior center team that has now become social service workers. So we are one large team now that have all worked together to make sure we're serving everybody, which has been fantastic. Next year, if we're able to open the senior center, depending on what we decide to do with programming, my staff are going to be going back to that as their main responsibility. So that is where we will have to see what our needs are, and who will continue to serve us. One thing that has really saved us this year was all the moratoriums on rent, foreclosures, and utilities. So that's been helpful. We don't know what to expect in the future. We do have funding for our residents for some rental assistance. But I think, our SNAP benefits, any of our clients, most of our families that we see or saw prior to this were receiving SNAP benefits, also formerly known as food stamps. And they got bonuses every month because of all the stimulus packages. So their needs weren't as bad as anyone thought they were going to be. And we saw them a lot less than we did families that just hit hard times because of COVID.
Okay. One of the other concerns I've had in seniors is they are far more isolated and locked in now, and how we try to find a way to outreach to them. As you said, you've picked up 100 and change, but I have a suspicion that there's a very high population that aren't reaching out or getting to you in any way.
Sure. So, I mean, there's so many components to that, but, we probably had maybe up to 4,000 seniors in our database with the help of the tax assessor. And this was right before COVID hit. We closed on March 16th. Since then, we have close to 6,000 in our database. And those additional 2,000 are from phone calls we've gotten in the community for people looking for vaccines or for services. So we've really been able to captivate a larger audience and do some more outreach to them. What else are you asking? I'm sorry.
No, it just, if there's a way to, I think there's even more than that. And how do we find them? Do we have access? Do we ever get access to census data? I know they don't publish it till later to the public, but I wondered if organizations like yours have access to it earlier.
What we can get, and so the Agency on Aging, the Southwestern Connecticut, that is who we go to for information. They were able to provide us with a list this year of all the programs and activities that they do that seniors are eligible for. So for all of the homebound seniors that are receiving their services, we were able to, get a hold of who they were, connect them to the health department for home delivered vaccines, or putting them on the restaurant program. We were able to provide them with home delivered meals. We started a home delivered meals program this year. We serve 25 seniors a day, and those are all new individuals that we had not known before. We also provide grocery bags every Friday that have, produce, dairy, butter, cheese, things that you wouldn't get in a food pantry. And we do a drive-by service where they can all come and pick it up, or we have them delivered to their homes. So we have quite a few small services like that. We also have a telephone reassurance program where we have about 50 seniors so far that are signed up, and volunteers in the community connect with them every week. And it's, a new friends creation program. We have high schoolers that are doing it, adults of all ages. So, we have a lot of little things out there to try to reach everyone. But I think the best part was getting all these extra individuals into our database. And with Vicky's robocalls, those made a significant difference for people that had never been here before and were able to access our services.
And I guess I would just hope that we would continue some of these programs even after the pandemic is over, because some of them still really won't be able to get out, and it ties them in more to the community. I've reached out for someone I knew to try to put them on the list so they got the daily activities, but some of these people are so homebound. Every time I call her, she's in tears. They're just lonely.
Yeah, they're very lonely. We've also, I know as of a few months ago, we had purchased 15 tablets with donated funds for seniors. And these seniors were screened by the State Agency on Aging and Disability Development. And they were able to screen our seniors for their needs, get them a tablet, train them on how to use it, and we helped fund it with our donated funds. So all of those seniors, it's great. They're now connecting to their families, their grandkids, all on Zoom, and we're getting them active in the senior center programming. And we probably have 15 Zooms a week that our seniors can tap into, all of our regular exercise classes, our art classes, we have lectures, support groups. So, we're trying to cover every area to find them. And I have to say, with the health department connecting with us for the vaccines is probably how we got the largest group of people that had not known about us prior. So that was a significant change and a benefit in a sense.
Great. I think all the programs that you're reaching out with have been wonderful. I wish we could find all the rest of them and connect them, but
Yeah.
thank you for all that.
Yeah, sure.
Anybody else have a question on social services? Michelle, thank you. It really does make a difference seeing everybody out there. Michael, was that you?
Yeah, just one basic question. Since some people are watching, can you just say how to volunteer if you want to volunteer?
Yeah, absolutely. So, we were getting a lot of food drives in the beginning that were a little overwhelming. The community was amazing. I've never seen so much community support. So we had a stocked pantry. We had a stocked senior center full of food, but it's now back to a regularly stocked pantry. So if anybody wants to do a food drive, they can reach out to us and we'll let them know what specific items they want. They can also come and volunteer in the food pantry during regular business hours. If they want to, right now we don't have people shopping, so we're taking grocery orders and volunteers are putting those orders together. We also do drive-through events at the senior center where twice a month our seniors drive through and pick up a lunch and say hello, and they can participate in that as well. So they can also do the friendly phone call program, call their seniors from home. So there's quite a few things they can do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, so Michelle gets to stay on and we'll move to page 361 for the senior citizen services. All right, Michelle.
Right. All right. Last year, again, everything kind of got pushed to the side. The center closed on March 16th, and we learned how to use Zoom like the rest of the world and got our seniors engaged. So that has been actively going on since this started. My staff are great guiding them and getting programming going. The best one was the bingo group. They were the most isolated, and we found a way for them to get onto Zoom and play their favorite games. So we're just happy that we have that group that before never would have been able to do this. So we're starting to see a lot of that. We were working on, currently we have a state funded lunch program. And it's very limited. It's a suggested donation. There's no options. It's not popular. It is very out of date, old fashioned, but until the Older American Act federally will change that, we are stuck with this program. So, we've been wanting to look into other options without that state funded program to do something here different. And that's what our members are requesting. So that was a goal last year. That is still a goal. We are meeting with individuals to see how we could provide some type of lunch program here at the senior center without the state funded program. So that'll be a big project this year. We're, again, just going to be taking a look at the center and seeing how we can provide programs and activities safely. We meet regularly with all the senior center directors across the state. I believe we meet every Thursday or twice a month on Thursdays to get an idea of what's going on in the state. And we also meet weekly with the senior center directors of Fairfield County. So we're all kind of sticking together, trying to find out how we're going to open safely for our seniors. I think, obviously growing the programs, we want to grow that friendly phone call program. That's gone really well. And people are creating new friends, and they might tell their volunteer what they need, but they won't tell us. So it's a way for us to get in and get services to individuals. We're obviously going to be able to creating a participate from home program. Who would have thought that Zoom would have been so successful? So I think when we reopen, our goal is to determine how to do in-person classes as well as keep the Zoom classes at home for those that are homebound or just can't get out. So that'll be a big change for us. And I think otherwise it's reevaluating what programs to bring in, what we can do and serve the most amount of people safely. So those are our goals.
Any questions? Any big changes in the budget we should look at? I don't think so.
So I think they're pretty small. Again, staff development. I think, otherwise everything is just small increases on contracts that we have with our computer system or our cable boxes, but everything else is very small.
Okay, Mary and then Elaine.
Oh, Mary's one.
Sorry. Hi, Michelle. I know pre-COVID you were thinking perhaps about increasing the membership fee slightly. I don't know if that is something that's going to be on hold until we're completely out of this and maybe next year, or if you were thinking about it still, or, just some thoughts on that.
I'd recommend not to this year, just because we don't know what we're going to be able to offer. It's $5 a year for residents and $20 a year for non-residents. We can do it. We're going to be asking for membership this year. The current year we're in, people sent in their memberships just to show us some support, but we are going to be asking for it for July to continue to participate in our programs. We can ask for an increase. For the non-residents, I'm concerned about asking for an increase for them because they will be waitlisted to get into our programs because we will be very limited as to who can come in. They'll have to pre-register. So I think with all the changes, we've been hesitant to do it. But if there is support for it, I would do it.
Oops, I'm always on mute. I was just curious, you should think about this. I just didn't know where you fell out, with other senior centers, what they were doing.
I think it was something we wanted to do because it's very fair. Compared to what other individuals paid other centers, I think it would be very fair to go up $5 a year. So, but what I have to say is they send in $5 and they send in a $50 donation. So it ends up working out really well.
All set, Mary? Elaine?
Yeah, I just have one question on the program expense. And I see you asked for 57, the first selectman, and it was 56 the year before and 61. And we reduced it based on historical numbers from 2018 to 20. If you're going to try to hopefully reopen the senior center and you're doing both your on-site and you continue your Zoom programs, will this be enough? Because it looks like you tried to break out the programs you were offering.
Yeah, and I redid the projection and I think that is manageable. We really don't know what to expect. I mean, I feel like a lot of our seniors that were regulars, they are moving away. Their family members, their spouses are getting dementia. They've really gone downhill, a lot of them. It's sad that they won't be coming back. So we will have a new group of seniors. We'll have to reevaluate the programs that they're really interested in. So I think it's definitely gonna be a test run year. So we'll work with that. And we do get donations that can help fund small things on the side as well.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? If not, thank you, Michelle.
Sure.
If anybody has any follow-up questions, we'll send them along.
Okay, thanks everyone.
All right. Have a good day.
Bye.
All right. We'll be moving on to the technology department, Mr. Chin, because we don't get to see enough of you.
Hi. It's good to
Hi
be
there.
here. I guess I'll just jump right into it. 2020 to 2021 has been a crazy year for everybody. I'm most proud of our ability to help all of our coworkers quickly transition to a remote COVID operation. I think we threw a lot at them very quickly. We spun up some new processes and new procedures, and we're used to doing things face to face in town hall, and all of a sudden when you close the building, everybody has to do things remotely and on a computer digitally. So we've really taken some big advances in the past year, and for the most part it went fairly smoothly. Online operations for Zoom meetings, I was going to look up how many Zoom meetings we've done, but I know it's over 300 every night, Monday through Thursday. So that's been great. Other areas that we've put a lot of work into this past year, we've done a lot of new solutions in BOG, and that was something that was we were really looking to do regardless of the COVID-19 pandemic. And because of the pandemic, we've accelerated some of those things. So we've done a case tracing, which was very important for our health department early on is to do the case tracing, which we also provide a public dashboard for residents to be able to see live data with, all the cases that we had in town. As town hall reopened, we implemented a VOG appointment scheduling system that's active now, and residents can go on and reserve a time that's for them and the department. On the employee side, we've done a health screening piece that we update every morning to make sure that everybody's healthy. Other things we've done for the nurses is we've implemented a school case tracing system. So all of the students who are exposed or in quarantine at home have been doing the self-reporting and case monitoring. Done a variety of different solutions for that. A brand new one that we just launched last week was the large item pickup, bulk pickup for highway. So that's open right now on the website, and there's like 320 slots or something like that open, and we're getting close to half capacity on that already, and we're working on an EMS class registration system now. Moving forward, I'd love to continue to build out VOC solutions, and we've implemented some money and asked for some money in the budget. It was reduced, but I think that's okay. We can work with what we get. Excuse me. So other solutions that we look for moving forward is I would really love to have an onboarding system. I know Maria says Munis can do it. I don't care what we do. I think we need it. We can also work on facilities work order. If there's a light bulb broken or a sink in the bathroom that's leaking, put that work order in. And I know Public Works is hiring somebody who will oversee that, an assistant director. So hopefully we can move forward with that in the coming year. Police department has a host of different things that they can do, a vehicle maintenance type thing, or if there's something wrong with a vehicle, a work order that fixes it with Rich in the garage, things like that. I'd like to just do more online systems to help out our departments. Let's see, what else did we do? We upgraded some aging firewalls in remote locations. That was a completed project that we took care of. We implemented security training for employees, and that's been going fairly well. And that system is designed to simulate phishing and other email type vulnerabilities. And we get a lot of complaints about it, but the reporting rate is up and the click rate is down. So that's good because our employees are being trained that don't click on things and don't do things that are jeopardizing our network environment. And then we also launched the Trumbull website, Trumbull library website in conjunction with the town website. So those are all things that we've worked on the past year. Moving forward, I'd like to continue doing the VOC stuff, make some more solutions for that. We've put a big focus on security recently. The ransomware attacks aimed and targeted at municipalities has been increasing over the past year or so. People just know that we operate such a critical function, and they can really disrupt our operation by attacking governments, and the aging population of employees are sometimes a little bit more vulnerable. And large cities across the country, Atlanta, Baltimore, they've all been hit with ransomware, and it's not good. And so far, knock on wood, we've been okay. And here in Trumbull, but that's all part of our security awareness. And we've recently joined the Multi-State Information Sharing and Analysis Center, MSISAC, and they provide a bunch of free utilities and monitoring services that we've been taking advantage of. And so we've been just kind of adding our pieces there as we move along. Email server. So I've got some money in this year's budget. We had last year an email exchange upgrade budgeted, and that was $10,000 for professional services. And then we had some money in the contractual account for licensing. And I'd like to switch that. Then we're trying to get final quotes on moving that to the cloud. and switching instead of an on-premises Microsoft Exchange server, putting that on Exchange 365. So because everything shut down and we didn't get to go to VMworld, I can ask for a transfer, ask the board for a transfer to move some money around. And I'm just trying to get the final numbers from the vendor. They're on state contracts, so we shouldn't have any bid issues there. And we'll move our Exchange platform from an on-premises solution to Exchange 365. I think that's it for now. I guess I'll take some questions. Let me just go through real quick the budget and numbers that were changed. Overtime was reduced from 10,000 requests to 5,000. We're actually tapped out of our overtime this year. That's non-COVID related. COVID related overtime is tracked separately, but our traditional annual overtime account, we just hit, we just went over that by, I think, like $100 last week. So we had 5,000, I think, last year. So any increase there would be appreciated. We'll take comp time if that's allowed as well. Moving to the professional account, the council chambers upgrade that we asked for, we had discussed with the First Selectman's office that there's a bond that has some money that we can pull from there instead of asking for it in the budget. So we'll try and do that. I'm okay with the delay on the Long Hill Conference Room AV project that we were hoping to do. Hard drive destruction looks like was reduced from 2,000 to 500. And, again, they're sitting in a box in the server room, and whatever we get, the fund will just ship out whatever we can to properly erase those hard drives.
Can't just offer them up with a sledgehammer to people. It doesn't work that way. I'm thinking of a fundraising event right here.
I keep saying we should take them down to the firing range at the police department and keep shooting them, but haven't done that yet.
All right, just a thought.
That would be more fun. Moving to the contractual, we do have to increase the support items, and I missed the notation on the note that Maria had made. I didn't understand it, and I should have asked about it, but it said 1S, and it really should have been 1/2, and that was a typo. And it was on the Zoom line and not the server support line. So the Dell server support was cut in half, the Pure Storage support was cut in half, and the Aruba support was cut in half. The grand total there would be $9,325. Those are all one-year contracts. And so we can't really pay half of it this year and half of it next year because it's a one-year contract. So I would request an increase in the contractual budget of $9,325 to bring that back up to 1 year. We had previously, when we put those projects in, we had purchased a 3-year support contract at that time, which is why it wasn't in last year's budget. So now that the 3 years has come up due in January of 22, we would have to pay for that. And I think Maria has her hand up, and she may want to try to split that because it's a January to July and pay only half year, and then I'll let them deal with the finances in the back end.
Maria.
She just, go ahead, Maria.
Basically, we did take half, we're going to pay upfront. We're going to pay the whole year, just like you want to, but we're going to fund it over 2 fiscal years. So we prepay it, put it in the liability account, and then pay the half next year. So you're still going to get the full year. It's just that they're going to be paid.
Just the way you're accounting for it.
Over 2 years. That's all.
Okay, no problem then. I rescind my request for a increase to that account. The VOC total was reduced, as mentioned, by half the requests for additional departments for next year. And I think we can work with what we have been allotted there.
Bill, does that take care of the fire marshal, what in her department, the permitting stuff?
That wouldn't be part of that. And I actually found the cost on that. That was $3,500. I suppose we could probably do that if we had to take out 3,500 of that request and put it towards that project, and then use the rest to add licensing. And the way the system works is that they charge per user per license. So right now, with the whole COVID scenario, they've been extremely generous with saying that, use the platform however you need to use it, and everybody realizes it's an emergency scenario. So we'll catch up. And nursing department is currently using the software now, but they might not use it on an ongoing basis after the pandemic's over. So things like that. That'll be okay. Then training was cut in half on the New Horizons. I think that's fine as well. And that was all the edits that were made from the first selectman's budget review.
Michael Barker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Michael Barker, Board of Finance. Mr. Chen, I have two questions. One is, I think, an easy one, and maybe a question for Maria instead. I'd just like to see the historical outlay for overtime a little bit further back. We've clearly got it through 2020, but that's a weird year. So it would be good to see that before we consider doing any increase or anything like that. And Maria's raising her hand probably to tell me that she has the answer.
Go ahead, Maria.
Yes, if you look at page 93,
Look at that.
it gives you the historical.
Come on, Barker. All right, good job. Thank you. That'll be helpful. Thank you, Maria. I really appreciate that. And then the other question, which I'm reasonably sure is not in the packet, but may also be, is do we have a policy with expense thresholds in the case of municipal system hacking? I'm really, really happy to see all the testing that you put in and all the thoughtfulness and the association that we've joined. This is really positive, but it could be an enormous cost if a ransomware attack did happen. I just wanted to make sure that is this part of the development of a plan, or do we have one?
On paper, that doesn't exist. We do have a plan that we are aware about. We talk about all the time. We do a lot of prevention, and we do a lot of redundancy. So our backup system is able to handle running up. And so if something went down, we would be able to spin up a virtual machine from an hour ago or something like that to get the system back up and running while we remedy the problem, and then fix everything. So in terms of, I think what you also asked was the tremendous cost of that. I know that there are insurance agencies out there who provide cybersecurity type insurance or something like that. We don't have that, and that may be something that is worth looking into, because as you said, that could be millions and millions of dollars an expense. So
would that be something you would look into, or is that something we should ask another administrative department to check out?
I guess I could start.
Okay. And if you start and feel it's not an appropriate use of your time, come back and we'll find something.
Right, and Maria may say that our insurance town body covers it already. So
We have cybersecurity policy coverage. Not sure how much does it cover. I can get more details on that, but we do have a rider for cybersecurity.
It would be great to know what was in there. Thank you, Maria.
All right. Vinny.
Vinny DeGennaro, Board of Finance. First of all, thanks for all your good work with the Zooms and the meetings. I think everybody, you facilitated a lot of stuff for the town, and I think it's well appreciated. The question I have is about Munis, and I know last year we had budgeted moving it to the cloud, and I know there might have been some delays for not only for the COVID, but also some other things. So it might be helpful if you just give everyone an update on that. And then I have one more thing after that.
While he's looking for the answer, Elaine, you one-upped me on the background. I can't believe it. That's fantastic.
sorry, I've been sitting here all day and I haven't coughed at all. And then my meeting comes up and I need my glass of water next to me. I actually did have a note to talk about the Munis upgrade. I'm glad you asked about that. So last year we initially put in for a cloud software as a service upgrade that got removed and then restored, I believe by the Board of Finance. So thank you for that. As July opened up, we started working with Munis on getting that project scheduled. So we initially had a 9/1 launch date to transfer everything over from our on-premises to the cloud. That got delayed to October 1st, primarily because of a late shipment on their end to get us a VPN device that we had to put on our network and then test back and forth. So we had a small delay there, but we were still sort of on schedule. And then, oddly enough, Tyler Technologies, they got hit with a ransomware attack in the middle end of September. So a few of their clients were compromised, and they put a halt to all projects while they put all of their focus on making sure that their solutions were secure. So that unfortunately pushed us into the weird part of our calendar year for finance, where at the end of the year, finance is really busy trying to get W-2s out, and then January hits and it's budget season. So we've exchanged some emails with them, a lot of them actually this morning, and I think we're back online for a meeting on Thursday to start bringing this project back up to speed. Now that finance is kind of mostly done with the heavy lift for the budget. And so hopefully we'll be able to get this project back on path and migrate everything over to the cloud platform in the next month or so.
Okay, thanks, Bill. One other thing that I wanted to mention, and I know that you'd need to do some looking ahead. I just thought it'd be important for you to kind of let people know what you're thinking about some of the things going forward with virtual desktops and some of the technology positioning we need to do, because it'd be pretty bad if you just came in and said, hey, we need to do this. I think it's important to kind of lay out a plan and let people know what you have in mind, so we could also start to think about it as well from a cost perspective.
Sure, definitely. So a few years ago, we purchased a large amount of desktop computers, and we financed that over 3 years. And I'm pretty sure next budget year, this budget season, is our third year of payment for that, and that's in the capital outlay account for roughly $30,000. So that we would pay off those computers, and those computers are now approximately 3 years old. The plan at that time was to kind of sit on those and let them continue to be used and not replace the desktops right away. And so the useful end of that lifespan would then be transferred to a thin client. And what I mean by that is that the computer itself today, when you have a computer desktop, all of the processing is done on that computer and desktop. And so as technology advances, your computer gets slow because it's not able to keep up with the needs of the new software. And that's why every couple of years it's smart to get a new computer. What we would propose doing is extend the life of that by making it a thin client and put the investment of that hardware on the server end. And so they have what's now called a virtual desktop infrastructure. And that's based on VMware, which we have for our server environment. And the VDI infrastructure allows you to centrally manage your desktops so that you control an image, what they call an image on your computer, on your server, and you update that one image, and then every client and every end user client computer is updated automatically. So if there were Windows updates or a software update that we would do it once on the main image or multiple images, depending on how many we host for the departments. And then everybody in that department or everybody who uses that image on the server automatically gets uploaded on the back end at the end user level. So the management is extremely easy. We don't have to go out to touch end user computers as often. And so that would help in terms of a management perspective. That's a fair amount of cost to put into the back end, but it's really a determination of where do we want to make the investment? Do we put it on the server side, or do we just buy new desktop computers for all the employees again. So it'll probably end up being a wash either direction. So we're probably going to look at the VDI infrastructure, even if it's a slightly higher cost. It may be worth doing that for the maintenance and upkeep on our end. The other super great benefit to VDI, and I really wish we had it this year, is that there's a client that you can just download on any computer. So your home computer at home, or your home laptop, or even a smartphone or tablet, you can have access to your office computer if we allowed it. So with everybody working remotely for the pandemic, that would have been really awesome to have. We could have, at a, basically moment's notice, everybody go home right now, log on, download this app, log on, here's your credentials, and you would have your desktop at the office with all the access that you wouldn't typically have. Your desktop background would be the same. Your icons would be exactly where you are. And it would be virtually seamless as to using your computer at home or the office. Unfortunately, we didn't have that, and we had to do some other things, but those are the kind of technologies that exist. And I think the future, it would be really nice to have that. The other major change, I guess, would be with the Microsoft Office product. And Ben and I talked about this last week a little bit. We may consider going to the Office 365 subscription plan in the future. Right now we have a desktop software, and the desktop software was supposed to end at 2019. Microsoft has since edited that end date, and they're going to be putting out Microsoft Office 2021. The cost for that software will go up, and then the support will be reduced by a few years. And so when you do the cost analysis, the cost is going to be by month more cheaper to be online in the cloud with Office 365. And there's a lot of benefit to actually being on that platform. They're putting all of their efforts into updating that platform rather than desktop platform. So you're going to get the new technology, the new features. I realize most people probably don't use all those new features, but security updates are handled in the background and things like that. So it'll be interesting to see where the industry ends up moving. I know a lot of major businesses have already done Office 365, and we'll just have to see how long the support timeframe is for the desktop software and make a determination of which way to go on the town end.
Thanks, Bill. I just, maybe a different way of thinking of the VDI is thinking of it as being a Trumbull internal cloud, so to speak, where the processing is at a central point on our premise or someplace else, and the desktops are very cheap. I'll call it cheap because you really don't need a lot of technology at your end to make it work. Okay, thanks very much. I'm glad we got that out there, and hope that was helpful for people.
Great, thank you.
Anybody else have any other questions besides me? I have one. Last year with this time, we talked about if you went to cloud-based service, whether or not we might be able to save on licensing fees by combining services with the Board of Education. Do you have any more information on that, or by follow-up, or however you'd like to handle that?
I guess it could be possible. Right now they have their own Munis environment. We have our own Munis environment, and I've said for a long time that they're a department just like every other department in town. All the money comes from the same pot of money in the grand scheme of things, and so I would think that we would be able to take the Board of Ed and just insert them as a department, just like my department or the senior center or EMS or whatever. And if we were to do that, I would think that you could go from 2 Munis contracts to 1 and save a fair amount of money.
Yeah, I think last year you estimated it was about $160,000.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I know. We pay a good amount in our Munis.
What information would we need to be able to find out if that's a viable option?
I guess we could just ask our account rep.
Okay. I know that there was a question whether or not they use different account numbers, if that was part of the issue, but I'm not sure how that worked out. So any information that you could find out for us might be helpful.
And sure, and Maria may be able to answer some of those other account number questions.
Okay. And just a personal thank you. The last year has been very challenging. My technological skills have improved from about 1998. I'm up to about 2014 currently. So I'm getting there slowly. And every meeting that we have, you've just been absolutely gracious about the 1,000 questions and the updates and the, can you send invites to this person and that person, and always very helpful. So you and Kate, I just want to say a thank you. It's been as pleasurable as being on Zoom can be.
Yeah, thanks a lot. It's been part of the daily routine for me is to just hop back on my computer and be online. And you know, definitely shout out to Katie Dunn at Trumbull Community Television. She doesn't often say a lot, but she's just as important as I am on these meetings and helping out to run everything. So
yeah. You guys could just work on the thinner filters and, you know, the anti-wrinkles and all that stuff for next year. That'd be great.
I can put a request in with Zoom.
Excellent. Anybody else have any other questions or follow-up? All right, thanks. You guys can't go anywhere anyway, so we'll just move on to Mary Markham. I saw that you popped on with us. We'll move on to the town clerk's department on page 115. And Mary Markham is with us.
Hello.
Hi, Mary.
Thank you.
While you're all getting to page 115. Still impressed, Elaine. I'm still impressed.
And I'm gonna take back 30 seconds and also make a
go ahead.
shout out for Lara Walden with Trumbull Community Television. She's been doing a lot of the editing after the meetings are over to upload everything and fix the volume levels and all that to put everything on the Trumbull Community Television website and video on demand system. So the three of us talk often. We exchange a lot of email and text messages, and I joke that I talk to them more often than I talk to my staff, but it may not actually be a joke, it might be a fact. So shout out to Katie and to Lara.
Excellent. Mary, you ready to go?
I am as ready as I'll ever be, I guess.
All right, so walk us through your department. Give us the highlights.
Well, we've been a little different this year in the way we've had to work, like everyone else. We have some people working from home and some in the office. Basically, in our budget, there hasn't been much change at all. There was an increase, and you have to forgive me because Susan, which I don't know if Susan's on yet, Susan has been always worked on the budget, and I'm not as familiar with it as she is. However, I do know that we only had one small increase, and it was the price of the books that we have to use for our records. Right now, we are short one person in the office. I'm in the process of going through the hiring process. Two of us work in the office every day. The third one works from home. I don't know what any questions you have, feel free.
Okay. Any questions for Mary? Mr. Barker.
Hello, Michael Barker, Board of Finance. Thank you, Madam Chair. Mary, I think you're there. You're in a dark
I
hole.
am. I'm sorry.
I can hear you but not see you. It's fine.
It's the sun.
I just wondered if you were considering any increased costs, or if we anticipate them being reimbursed by the state if in fact this expanded voting business passes.
The expanded what? I'm sorry, I missed.
Voting?
Well, everything right now is according to what we have to do with the state, and the last election, they covered the cost of a lot of it. And as we understand it right now, they will pick up if any new regulations until we can all figure it into our budgets.
Thank you.
Mary, I have a follow-up from our earlier discussion with the animal control. We were talking about dog licenses
Uh-huh.
and whether or not you thought that was something that we might be able to do online.
Well, they have to send it in. They can do it online if we had the means to do credit card charges, and then but we would still have to mail them the license. And what we do right now is when they're sending them in by mail, which we had to do this past year because we could not have them come in, they had to include a self-addressed stamped envelope. So in doing that, we just were able to put the license and the paperwork right back in their own envelope and send it out. It saved us tremendously with postage and, you know, keeping track of things. So I don't know how that would work. It might, but getting the licenses to them would still have to be mailed out.
If we did it online, would it be possible, like even for $1 service charge to cover the cost of postage and credit card fee or whatever, to be able to do something like that?
Well, we could, sure. But like I said, it wouldn't save us any time in the office, quite frankly, because we'd have to still mail back and do every individual license.
I think what we were hoping to do is to capture more people and capture, not being like in the word, but to capture more people to actually getting their licenses done and then renewed on
Right.
time.
I understand that, but the whole thing starts with you have to have a credit card availability, and we don't right now.
Other departments do though?
Some I think do. Maria's working on it with us for us because we right now don't have capability to use a credit card for anything. And it would definitely help because we have people coming in for vitals or doing them through the mail. And right now we only take cash or checks.
Maria, what would it take to get them to be able to take credit cards like the other departments?
We are actually working with MetroCog right now because they have a system. And they were investigating a couple of credit card companies what we were looking into. And the plan was to move to one system. Right now, we have the Viochi system, and there's a credit company we deal with, which we went through a process. And then there's the other one that, as Bob mentioned today, the last day we had to come up with a credit card system for them to be able to process remotely, and it's a different company. So we want a uniform and just one credit card company. So we are looking into it, but we wanted to just have one credit card system for the entire thing.
And will that be something that will be doable in the 2021-22 budget cycle?
Yes. Yes.
Anybody else have any questions for Mary on the town clerk's office? If not, we will move on to page 331 and vital statistics.
But I am sometimes not so much. Okay. Great.
All right, Mary, vital statistics.
Okay. Any questions anybody has? I mean, pretty much vitals are, they're all standard. We have to go by the law with everything. We're doing, we do everything we can remotely, but we do have people stopping in for those as well. The death certificates, the birth certificates, that, that doesn't change much, although we had an awful lot this past year.
Mr. Barker,
Take exit 13 for US 1 Post Road.
where are we going?
I think that's Susan.
I'm on my way home from a doctor's appointment. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
We're headed towards a balanced budget. Okay.
I like that.
Here
All
we
right,
go.
Mr. Barker, you're on.
Michael Barker, Board of Finance. Thank you, Madam Chair. Mary, I hesitate to ask this because I think it might lead us down a dark path, but what is the new death program that you referenced?
Oh, we're not in there yet. That is, it's from the state and it's in trial right now. We were supposed to be all on it by last summer, but because of the whole COVID thing, everything has slowed down. But eventually it will make it so that the death certificates will be processed online rather than funeral directors having to go to get the doctor's signature, get our signature. It moves along quickly if we all go online like that.
Also would make the death certificates from that point available in any town in Connecticut. You wouldn't have to go to the town of death to
Right.
get your death certificates.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you.
Next I have Paul and then Elaine, please.
I have the same death-related question that Michael had, so you can withdraw my hand.
Okay.
Hand is down. I'm going to tell you that they have lots of books to expect what you expect when you might be expecting, but they don't have a lot when somebody passes away. And that when my mom passed, we had a lot of eye-opening experiences about how difficult it was to actually close out things. So anything you can do to make that process easier for people, I'm all for it. Elaine?
Yeah, hi, Mary.
Can you
Elaine
beam us
Hammer,
up?
Board of Finance, yes. Will that mean that so you're going to be able to get death certificates from any town clerk or online from then on?
No, I think you'll still have to get them through the town clerks because the average person, I don't believe, would be able to get them because there are social securities involved.
Okay.
Yeah, it would be like an in-house program, like the birth program is that the state runs.
Right. So that right now the birth certificates go to the town where they're born and the town where they reside. And you're saying that becomes then any town can get it for you?
Yes, we
Right.
can.
My son, I lived in Milford at the time of his birth. He was born in Bridgeport. I can get a copy of his birth certificate in Trumbull or Stratford. or
Anywhere
Hartford.
now.
Right.
Okay. And how will that impact the marriage certificates where you used to have to get it in the town or the marriage license in
You
the
still
town you were
do.
getting married in?
You still do, Elaine.
So
It
you
doesn't
have
change.
okay. So it has to be specifically to the town where the ceremony is going to be.
Right.
Okay. And then a small odd question. Why would it go down from 500 to 400? The program expenses? Is somehow the state charging us less for something?
That when we have to send copies to you, if you die in Trumbull, but you lived in Stratford, I have to send a copy of that to Stratford. And anything over $24, you bill the town for. So really, we get billed from Bridgeport, Fairfield, sometimes Stratford and Monroe.
You've arrived.
And with the birth certificates all available through the computer, we don't have a lot. And it all just depends upon how many people, but we haven't used that $500 completely in years.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
All right. Anybody else have any questions on vital statistics? All right. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
All right. Anybody need to stretch their legs? Everybody okay? We're running a few minutes ahead of schedule. So Anthony Musto does not look like he's on the call yet. Maria, do you want to pick up someplace?
Anthony was just here and
I don't see him on my screen.
he
I'm
was
checking.
here
Let me
and
check the
left.
panelists. He probably figured we were running behind. Elaine, beam him up, will you?
Yeah, come on. Oh, wait a second. Hold on. We'll beam him up. Hold on. We're going to get a hold of him. Hang on.
This is great for me. I'm having fun.
Here, you want me to beam him up, huh? Okay, let's
Yeah.
see. Let's see. Can we call him?
No, that's okay. We've got about 10 minutes before he's due to come back on. Maria, do you have something quick you'd like to go over?
You want to start at the beginning with the town council?
I think we could do that.
Page 3.
You can start at the very beginning. It's a very good place to start. Let's go on to page 3, please.
If you want to go to page 4, which is where the budget is, the only difference there has to do with the fact that we are out to bid for our new auditor, and I can't estimate how much it will cost for the new auditor. So we left that budget flat, actually, yeah. So pretty much everything stays the same. We increased the clerical slightly for the 2% increase. We left the legal notices the same. Not sure what's going to happen with legal notices. As you know, right now we're down, but I don't know when we go back to normal, the new normal, we probably will spend the same amount in legal notices.
Well, hopefully they'll realize that was a good thing. Any questions in town council? Mr. Barker.
Yeah, Michael Barker, Board of Finance. Just checking, this audit is the annual audit.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Our annual independent audit.
So yeah, and the audit that, not what are we calling it? The operational review that was ordered by the town council for the Board of Education, where does that live?
That was paid out of the town attorney's budget.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Timpanelli.
Yes, Maria, 2 questions. Number 1, do you know how many years we've currently utilized the services of the current auditor?
We go out to bid for 3 years, and this past year, we did go out to bid again, and we only left, 3 years ago. 3 years ago, we only got 1 quote, 1 bid. So this year, the 3 years were up for the 2019 and 2020. We again tried out to bid, and there was only 1 bidder. So we exercised the 1 year option to renew, and that's why we went out to bid now. So they've been there for a few years.
So does that mean that the current auditor, and frankly, I'm not even sure which firm that is, but the current auditor has been with us for 6 years?
Probably more than that in total.
Okay.
We go out to bid every 3 years. We have renewed, we had used 2 options to renew a few times. But the last time, like I said, there was only 1 bid, and that was Bloom Shapiro.
Okay, my second question might be more appropriate for Vicky if she's still with us. If not, maybe you can answer it. Number 1, I noted in Vicky's transmittal letter that there's going to be, at least from her perspective, pursuit of a forensic audit as a follow-up to the Board of Ed operational review. And if that is the case, are those intended dollars to be used for that purpose within the budget? I couldn't find reference to it.
It's not in the budget I know of, unless.
That's not.
If I could, it's for Selectman Tesoro.
Yes.
That is my recommendation. However, it's the council that has to approve that. So until that time, when if they so wish to bring it up in discussion, that's certainly up to them.
Okay, do you have any idea as to what that might cost at this point?
I don't.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions in town hall? All right.
Okay.
Want to go on to Ethics Commission, Maria?
Maybe can I ask one lady? I'm sorry. Just with
Oh, that's
the,
okay. I'm sorry, Mary. I didn't see your hand.
I was trying to get it up in between the dogs there. Sorry. Just one question based on the charter. I don't know if these legal notices, if that amount will change at all, or if these are the ones that are required to put in because they're budget related.
It's just an estimate based on previous years. I'm not sure. As you know, it all depends on how many meetings you have, if it needs to be posted on the post or Trumbull Times, and I can't, I don't know. I'm not sure.
Okay, thank you.
Excuse me, this is Cindy Katsky.
Hi, Cindy.
Our charter requires newspaper notice as well as publication on the town website for town council meetings, agendas. Does that answer the question, or am I missing it? Yeah, okay, thanks.
It's an and, not an or. Cindy?
Yeah, the charter as recently revised requires both.
Okay. Everybody's okay with that? Moving on to the Ethics Commission, page 11. It's a whopping $120. Does anybody have a question about that? Okay. First Selectman's Office, page 15. Who gets to do that, Maria or Mrs. Tesoro there? Want to do rock, paper, scissors? How are we going to?
I could discuss the dollars, but I think Vicky should talk about the goals and accomplishments.
There's a plethora of both. So I'm not sure if you want me to read all of these. I'd be more than happy to if you'd like me to, but in the goal of saving time here, let me know what you want me to do.
Marty, you have your hand raised. Do you have an opinion about this?
No, I just had specific questions. If we're just going to do specific questions,
Well, I think we should make her hit the highlights first. What do you think?
Okay. All right.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, so under my successes and accomplishments, I think these are all highlights, so I'll just start at the beginning. We've kept taxes stable. We're funding critical town services. Certainly, again, like everyone else has said here today, dealing with COVID has sort of changed everything. And we're not quite sure, exactly what's going to happen with this budget. Obviously, now that we believe that the stimulus, the rescue bill from the Congress is going to be passed by the House of Representatives, I think tomorrow, hopefully, and that will mean some funding coming to the town of Trumbull. We have no idea what that amount is. We've heard different numbers, don't know exactly what the guidance will be as to how that money could be spent. So I can't talk about that yet because, oops. Pure speculation at this point as to the amount and how we can spend it. So when we get definitive information, of course, we will share that, and everyone probably will know about it at the same time anyway. So there are numerous meetings going on right now by our state delegation, not our state delegation, but our federal delegation, and by CCM. So again, but the information is just not in a form that really can be shared because they just don't have any definite numbers yet. So going forward, I will continue to focus on public safety, which is one of my greatest priorities. The reconstruction and re-engineering of both Chestnut Hill Road and Stroville Road, both funded through state grants. Chestnut Hill Road is finished. Stroville Road is imminent to be done. I'm sure you've all probably driven on both of those roads, along with Moose Hill Road that was finished last year. We're completing the traffic light, the Edge Fitness Shopping Plaza, as Rena spoke about earlier, and we're also working on the traffic light at Main Street and Whitney. We did open the town charter, and that was successfully opened and voted on by the voters. All of the charter revision provisions were passed with overwhelming majorities. We completed the change to 7 voting districts. We continue to look at focusing on economic growth, both redevelopment of our underperforming properties and new development. This is a goal of mine, working on planning and zoning to modestly relax height restrictions in our industrial zones and to allow for mixed use in our corporate parks in Trumbull Center. So we're continuing to work with surrounding towns about WPCA issues. We worked on having an effective 10-year capital plan for the Board of Ed. They came forward with a 5-year plan this year. Continue to work with the Board of Ed to investigate duplicate services. to achieve greater cost savings. As Rena said earlier, we have ongoing discussions with the Trumbull Mall, which is our largest taxpayer, and implementing the recommendations of the Community Facilities and Aquatics Facilities Building Committee. Obviously, those two committees, as everyone knows, were suspended during COVID. So that's something that we will work on this coming year. Adding additional security cameras and equipment in town buildings and town parks. That is an ongoing initiative. Relocate the town engineering department to the new public works facility. Again, this was delayed by COVID, although we are in the process of moving people down to the new building down in the public works or engineering department. That's due to COVID. We've moved that forward to open up room here in Town Hall to give us more space to move people around. And of course, always working to bring another grocery store into Trumbull. So those were my my goals or my successes, I guess, many of which are still ongoing into my goals for this coming year. So let me just quickly go over these to see what may be different in here. So we're continuing to work with MetroCog to apply for grant funding and improve roads and other projects. One of these particular areas is Shelton Road over in the Nichols section. We're working with MetroCog on a grant to redo that whole intersection in that area. I'm sure if you've driven on that road there, you know that it does need work. Also, the intersection at White Plains Road and Daniels Farm Road. Again, with the new plaza that opened up there, the CVS Starbucks, everyone I'm sure is aware of the dangers in that area. So we're working, Rena talked about the Boulevard study that will be incorporated in that study as well. Again, working with the owners of Trumbull Center to offer support in the redevelopment of that area. And, as I've done this entire year, I continue to work on protecting the health and safety of all of our residents during the pandemic by our, continued communication and assistance. And that also now has are focusing on the COVID-19 vaccination effort as well. So that's just a quick overview of all of my goals, successes, and so on and so forth. So my budget's pretty clear. It's not that much in there other than salaries and my expense account and seminars. That's it.
Marty, and then Elaine.
Great. Thank you. First, Vicki, that list is extraordinary. I just want to congratulate you and the team for what's occurred in this town. This is, been just an unbelievable year to manage through. I can't imagine all the stresses you've had to deal with doing that. So I just want to express my personal appreciation for everything that you've done. So thank you. But I did have a few questions, if you don't mind. So
let me just follow up on that, Marty. I appreciate those comments, but as I said a little bit earlier this afternoon, this is a definite, always is a team effort. I don't do this alone. I have, as I said, extraordinary people that are employed by our town who work with us. We all work together, and this year is really an example of that. The professionalism of our employees is extraordinary, and everyone should be aware of that. And thanking all of them for the job that they've stepped up to do and continue to do to help our community during these I'll just say it, extraordinarily challenging, unprecedented times that we all know we're living through. So, but thank you.
Well, I'll just say I'm grateful. I live in Trumbull, and thank you for everything that you've done. I did have a couple of quick questions on some of the goals that were listed. I just want to make sure I understood it. Yep. When we talk about working collaboratively with the surrounding towns to develop long-term strategies for WPCA issues, I know I've seen this on the list for a number of years. Who is point on this, and what does success look like?
Well, you may be aware that the sewer contract with Bridgeport that we entered into in 2015 is a 10-year contract with a 3-year extension on that. So because that is an extraordinary expense to determine what our steps will be, whether we renegotiate with Bridgeport, whether we go into a regional plan with another community or several communities, or we build our own power plant. These are items that need to be addressed now because the ability to do any of those things is going to take a great deal of time. So there's some ongoing discussions with the WPCA, with our consultant that we've had for a number of years about all 3 of those options that should be on the table and should be discussed.
I guess just a thought, it would be helpful periodically or maybe later next year that there's some sort of update in terms of what's happening and how we foresee this going and the pluses and minuses of different solutions. I just think people know it's far out in the future. They know it's a big number. They don't really, I'll speak for, I don't know, I know we have a WPCA. I just, I don't have really good insight in terms of where all that's going. So
without a doubt, Marty, I will say you're absolutely right. And that we do have our eyes on this certainly, because even though it is, it's not something that's going to happen tomorrow, but it's something that needs to be focused on and addressed. So yes, as we hopefully come out of this pandemic and we can return to focusing on items like this, we would definitely have a community conversation about it because it is extremely important.
Two more really quick comments then. Similar question then with collaboratively working with the Board of Ed to look at shared services. I know we've talked about this for a number of years, and I guess I'd like to know who, again, from the town side and who from the Board of Ed side is really appointed to work and make something happen. Because I think it's well past the time that we need to get this done. And I understand we have new people now at the Board of Ed, and they have a whole lot of issues to deal with. But each year we go through and the budget's more challenging than the last one. And there aren't that many opportunities. And it seems it's critical that we develop this shared service mentality. But it seems like we need to have somebody specifically responsible on the Board of Ed side and somebody on the town side whose responsibility it is to drive this forward. And I'd like to just get your perspective on that.
Without a doubt, that is absolutely true. I had meetings with the prior Board of Ed administration back in the, I can't remember what year we're in anymore. I believe it was the fall of 2019. We had conversations with that administration that sort of fell apart in between all that went on at the Board of Ed in the fall of 2019. I resumed those conversations last fall again when the new administration came in. But in order to allow them to get their feet wet, it wasn't a high priority item for them at that point. It is still with me, and those conversations will be ongoing again. But I just want to say that, and listen, I'm just speaking, off the cuff here, basically. I didn't expect to be doing my budget today, but anyways, just speaking off the cuff, I don't think that anyone should be inclined to think that we're going to save thousands and thousands of dollars immediately on any kind of a restructuring that may be done to save money here. You might be saving in efficiencies initially, but you're not going to be saving that many dollars in making these types of changes. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't be looking at this and focusing on this and having some difficult conversations. This is not an easy conversation to be had. I say this all the time. Last year or the year before, when they were trying to push through regionalization in the state, I went up and sat and testified and said that what we really should be doing is looking at regionalization in our own towns before we're looking at regionalizing between communities. In other words, making the legislature make it easier for boards of education and towns to share services. There's some hurdles here that we really need help to get over. So that being said, that doesn't mean that I won't continue those conversations with the Board of Education, because I think there is at least one area that we could jump right into to find some efficiencies almost immediately.
Thank you for that. That's helpful to hear your perspective. And then finally, last quick one. I didn't understand this one. It said, provide more town green initiatives to reduce costs. I didn't know what was meant by that.
Well, we're looking at UI to do more studies about how we can change our LED
Green,
lighting.
I'm sorry, Vicki, I'm sorry. I read it as town green.
Yeah, I know that.
That's green initiative. Now I understand what you're after. I'm sorry.
I don't blame you. That's not worded that well.
I just completely misread it. I understand.
I had to look at it again a couple of times myself.
All right, thank you very much. I got it.
That's funny. The other thing I'll bring up just quickly, because we talked about it in the police budget, and that was the increase to the chief's administrative assistant. Based on our discussion with the chief, we also looked at my administrative assistant as well, and the need to probably more than likely make an adjustment in her salary as well, in order to make those positions more equal. So Maria, I'm not sure we have any numbers for that yet. And again, I didn't expect to talk about my budget today, so we might want to circle around back with that when we have some numbers there for that position.
Yeah, I don't have numbers right now, but we could get back to the Board of Finance.
Okay.
Also, Elaine had her hand up. I called on her, but I was muted.
Well, I'll unmute so I can answer you. Elaine Hammers, Board of Finance. I want to second what everyone has been saying. For so many years, we've all looked at what can the town and the Board of Ed do together. I'm so tired of hearing it and reading the Gibson report, and would love to see us finally take some very definite steps. I think it is not a partisan issue. I think we've all agreed there's got to be some savings. And if the state is in the way, then maybe we need to go to our reps and see if we can get them to get out of our way. It's silly in these economic times. We're all trying to save money. And as Marty pointed out many times, we can't keep having percent on percent on percent. We have got to control the increases. And it's a good way to do it. And there's no reason not to, because I think Bill's department is a prime example. There is nothing that's done on the one side versus the other that's different. I assume Vin would agree with me because he'd know more about it. It's the same when we put in the new phone system. There are so many things we can do together, and we definitely should. Secondly, following up on something else Marty said with the sewers, and it's not something I want to take up now, but is it possible at one of our regular Board of Finance meetings, and I realize it might have to be an executive session, but to get a real update on what are the options? I've heard we go this way, or we go with this town, or we do our own. Well, we all know doing our own, there isn't even a place to do it, and the EPA regulations now would never let us do it. So what really is happening?
I think Coventry Road was one of the places that came up for our own power.
Yeah, I was told 20 years ago by the then Public Works Director that I couldn't live long enough to see a sewer on my street. And that it would be virtually impossible because of the rock we live on. So while I have no personal interest in this, I do feel like it is something we need to know for the rest of the taxpayers and the ratepayers in the town, because we all pay a part of it when we do install one, even those of us who will never, ever have one. And I just would like to be kept up to date. The same as the ongoing issue that we had with the tax assessor in that one appeal. It was brought to us, we were told about it, and then it kind of dropped. And if in fact has been settled and is being appealed, it would be nice just to close the loop with us, even though we don't have a direct say or impact on it. So I would appreciate that.
That's fine.
And then the only question I have about the actual budget item, and I certainly agree about the executive assistant. There is an issue that if they're all doing similar work, maybe things should be the same. but correct me, and Cindy, I know is on, so she may know more. I always thought that an elected official could not get a raise during the term, but got it as soon as the new term took effect. Am I incorrect in that assumption?
That's correct, I believe.
Okay, so if that's correct, then the amount that we put in for the first selectman's increase allows for the whole year instead of the 6 months of the fiscal year. Maria, you're shaking your head no. Put yourself off of mute and tell me why I'm wrong.
No, it's 7 months. The increase is for 7 months from December when the new administration or the administration takes over.
Okay.
For 7 months.
So when I put 2% on the 119, I got 122. We have 121 in here. So that's almost the whole time, or is that just 7 months?
It was
If it's
7 months. I have a calculation somewhere.
Okay, then it's fine. Then we're good, because I couldn't remember if that's what the trigger was, the
It's 7
beginning of
months.
the new term.
It's 7 months.
Okay, great. That's all I need then. Thank you.
Any other questions in the first selectman's department? All right, I see that Anthony Musto is on. We'll move on to the town treasurer. Page 79. Hi, Anthony.
Hello, how's everybody?
We're good.
How long have you guys been at this?
We saw you popped off for a little bit, so we took care of a couple of departments scheduled for next week while we were waiting for you to come back.
Okay.
So we're ahead of schedule, Anthony.
Okay, well, I was on for 2:45, but happy to be heard at 3.
Go ahead, sir.
What can I tell you? It's nothing certainly has changed. The salary is the same, I believe. I don't think there's been an increase. I certainly wasn't told if there was. And I really don't have any expenses. So as far as it goes, I think this will probably be one of your quicker ones, as it always is.
All right, Mr. Timpanelli has a question for you, sir, and then Mr.
Yes,
Barker.
Anthony, relative to the revenue side of the budget, are you comfortable with the number that's projected to be 21-22 revenue?
I mean, as far as the treasurer's number,
yes.
I'm not, I always have a question of whether that's part of the budget or not, but as far as this year, I think I'm encouraged a little bit that some of the interest rates seem to be ticking up. Hopefully when things open up and the Fed gets back to monitoring the economy will be doing well enough that they'll raise interest rates a little bit. Right now, the interest rates are extremely low, and frankly, predicting anything other than leaving it at 10 or 15 basis points times our income is a shot in the dark. So to answer your question, no, not really. But it's always an estimation.
Yeah.
And in the past, we've done either better or worse. We're hoping that the economy comes back up and we get some of that money back.
Okay, thanks.
Mr. Barker?
Paul pretty much got my question. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else have a question? Easiest one all day, Anthony.
Happy to help you speed up a little bit. How long you guys been doing this today?
8:30.
Since 8:30.
Well, thank you all for doing that. It's an amazing amount of time to be spending. So
We had a
Michelle,
nice little break
appreciate
for
it.
lunch.
Yes.
So, all right,
Well-
thanks so much.
All right. Take care, folks.
We're running just a couple minutes ahead of where we wanted to be for 3:15 with the town attorneys. So we can do one of two things, take a 5-minute stretch and come back, or we can move on to another town department. What would you like to do? I got a lot of blank stares. We're getting tired.
I'd like to move on.
Should we do the Crumble television? Katie's on because
Is Kate?
Katie's on. We
Well,
got 4 o'clock.
Well, actually, that's Kate Donahue that we need. Not the same Kate. All right, how about if we move on to, you want to do,
How about the
want
board?
to do the transit district, Maria,
and
on
the
page
Board of Finance?
161?
The Board of Finance is pretty quick too.
Oh, we could do the Board of Finance. Where are we? There we are, page 43. I know somebody is going to be looking for us next week and be like, what happened? Missed it.
Basically, it's just the salary for the internal auditor, the professional dues and seminars, legal notices for the budget hearings, and the clerical fees for the clerk that clerks the meetings.
Anybody have any questions? Pretty straightforward. Checking off the list. Should we back up to Finance Department, page 35?
You
Take
can
a
do
little
Trumbull
longer.
Day too, Lainey. It's Kathy.
Oh, hi, Kath. Whichever you guys decide, just tell me where I'm going.
Trumbull Day is 0, so you can be done with Trumbull Day.
There's no budget for next year?
No.
I'm sad.
We still have funding.
We have money in the special account where we can draw from, and we had put a deposit on the fireworks, and they will honor that for this year. So I really, with my fingers crossed in all forms, am hoping we can get through, if we do a Trumbull Day this year, that we can get through it with just our regular income.
Anybody have any questions for Kathy on Trumbull Day? Anybody need a moment of silence?
No, we'll just all have our fingers crossed. That's all.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going ahead with it. There may be some slight changes to it as far as not having vendors and actually spreading things out a lot more on the field. But I think if we can get it, it would be July 2nd and 3rd. If we can do it, I think it will be a huge boost to Trumbull to have something fun to come to, and hoping that since amusement parks are going to be allowed to open, just waiting for middle of the month to see what carnivals and festivals guidance is going to be. But I have a good feeling about it, and so I'm going ahead with some plans.
Okay. Is public events as easy to finish as well?
Can I ask one question, Lainey?
Sure.
Sorry, Kathy, Mary Isaac. Kathy, just want to check, do we have anybody temporarily on hold for amusement park, just in case? As that is a.
For amusements, yes, we do, because we have the ability to extend the contract from the last Trumbull Day.
Thank you.
Special events, I am trying to put something together for Memorial Day. It won't be a parade, but I'm trying to see if I can, possibility of getting a military band up at Indian Ledge Park where people could bring lawn chairs and spread out and have some speakers. And, we did the wreath laying last year, but we kept it, to a very minimal number of people. Hopefully we'll be able to do a little bit more this year. So I am working on Memorial Day. I'm working on Trumbull Day. I'm working on the First Selectman Golf Tournament, as if it's all going to occur. You may have to talk me off the roof as we go through it, but I am being optimistic.
Okay. Good. Anybody have any questions on that? Okay, thank you. Oh, excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank you. I need all the help I can get. Let's go back up to the Finance Department, Maria, and then hopefully the town attorneys will be joining us. We are on page 35.
You know, like everybody else who've been affected by COVID, we have been working remotely throughout all this process. Most of us are working at the office 2 days a week and 3 days remotely. We have 2 teams in case one of us goes down, the other team can take over. It's been very challenging. All of us have been carrying bags and bags home, back and forth. The area I'm working right now, I can't even tell you how much stuff I have here. And every time I go look for something, I seem to have left it at the office or I left it at home. So it's been challenging, but my staff has been wonderful. They've been working really hard and like everybody else, challenging, but and you kind of stay on as long as you need to, sometimes into the night, which, you know, and that's everybody in the finance department. I know that Bill talked about the Munis cloud system, moving over to cloud, and it is being implemented in March. We've been talking about it, and you know, due to various technical issues, there was delay, and then there was, you know, audit time, and then there was budget time, and W-2s and 1099s. And again, because the fact that we're only in the office 2 days a week, very challenging with all these other projects. So those are some of the accomplishments that we plan to be done this year. We've been working with Labor Relations Department to do the PAFs online. That's every time you hire someone, there's an actual form that goes from department to department to get approved. So we're trying to do it online through Munis, and that implementation has been delayed for quite a while now. We need to get back on that. We continue to investigate any other capabilities by Munis. We perform the physical inventory of the town equipment, but we need to go back and do the rest of it. We did vehicles, take-home vehicles, and some of the snow plows, some of the equipment, but it needs to be completed. We're looking at, there was a committee for the purchasing policy, which is, I believe they finalized their recommendations are coming to the first selectman, myself, and the rest of the committee to revise some of the challenges we've been having with the purchasing policy, such as the threshold for up 10,000 to go out for public bidding, all kinds of, you know, use of on-call, the various. So we're looking at all that, and then it has to be brought to the town council for approval.
Marty, you have a question?
2 quick questions, Maria. Thank you. When are you going to finish the physical inventory of the town equipment?
Well, we're going back on again now. I mean, it's been tough to go out there. We don't have the capability to do that, but we are looking at it. I can't give you a deadline, but definitely by the end of June.
Okay. And then the other question, maybe I'm missing something on the salary. So on the line item for 11,000, for 21, it shows 496,000. But when I look in the back for current annual for 1101, it shows 520,000. Because I couldn't understand why the 535,000 looks like a 10% increase over the 496. So what's it? Why is 496 in one place and 520 in the other? So if I, just to be specific, when I look at the top of page 38, and I look at the 2021 revised budget's 496, and then the top of 40, the sum total for 1101 is 520.
This is like every other department. The MAID contract and Mathis, they were in contingency. The salary increase were in contingency.
Okay.
Yeah, probably 2 years.
Okay.
And we finally filled all our positions, so we're finally full staff.
Is that the difference between the 496 and the 520 was you weren't filled, or is that the catch up? That's the catch up on the.
Yes.
Okay.
Keep in mind there's step increases and there are also salary increases. So yeah, there is had to do with the fact that it was in contingency. And the fact I may not need it at the end of the year because I did have a vacancy for most of the year last year, so I should be fine for the budget.
Okay, thank you.
Paul?
Yes, Maria, in your list of goals and objectives for next year, one of them, and we may have discussed this at a recent Board of Finance meeting, and if you answered it, I apologize, I don't remember the answer. But one of your goals and objectives is to close out some of the special agency funds
Yes.
that have been unused for a while.
Yeah.
Have you, or can you give us a projected, we won't hold you to it, calendar as to when those things might occur during the course of the next fiscal year?
By the end of next fiscal year, definitely.
I'm sorry.
By the end of next fiscal year?
So all of the unused accounts, your intention is to have them all
Yeah.
closed out by the end of
Yeah.
the next fiscal year?
Yeah, the plan is to start as soon as we can get to it this year, this fiscal year, and then continue and finish by June 2022.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Maria? All right. It looks like we'll just have to make some minor adjustments to our timing for next week before we do that. And I see that Dan Shopik, our town attorney, has joined us. And we are moving to page 95, town attorneys. Here he comes.
Pleasure to be here.
Got the background call and everything, Dan.
What's that?
Got
Just
the
in case
background
everything else
call and
doesn't work out and reverting to the Taj Mahal.
Excellent. You want to walk us through?
Take you around the world. There's not much to take through. We basically have the same setup. There's three of us, Jim Cordone, Jim Nugent, and myself. And we are, as you know, we cover various boards and commissions. We cover all the building committees, land use committees, or commissions, town council, board of finance, try to work with the first selectman's office every day. And every once in a while, we get to answer a couple of questions from some of you. Basically, I think what we've done is in the past, a portion, I think in the past, it was like $25,000 that was of the retainer was allocated and paid for by the WPCA. We've increased that this year because there's some additional work that's due to having to potentially renegotiate the contracts with the city of Bridgeport and a bunch of construction projects. So we've put more onto the WPCA burden this year, so that it's if that completely offsets the increase, but it does go into that. Dawn, where's that, Zermatt?
Don't even know.
Was-
They just look good.
That's very nice. Aside from that, we've handled. I think, as you know, there's some ongoing tax appeals that were handled going way back, having to do with the mall, having to do with Merritt Boulevard, that Mario Capola was handling separate and apart from our office. But in all other instances, we have done everything in-house. Just got an email. Has nothing to do with that. I thought it had to do with this. I'm sorry. And basically, we actually have a revenue stream, and I don't know what at the end of the day, Maria's probably better able to tell you what the revenue stream is, but there, we have, through Jim Nugent, who's handles all the litigation matters, we have gone after blight liens, we've gone after zoning violations. We have done some foreclosure work. And I know last week Jim said he just in fees, he brought in about $17,000, $18,000, which again, we don't take. That goes back into the town's coffers. In addition to the collection of the actual amounts that are due to the town. So I think we've tried to be as efficient as possible. We've tried to respond to everybody's needs as well as possible. And any other questions?
Marty.
Yeah,
and then
well, quick
Elaine.
question on the, when you mentioned the retainer, who is that? Is that retainer is paid to outside firms? Is that what you're referring to?
It's paid to us.
It's paid to us.
Yes,
by-
there was 3 attorneys. If you take the amount that's shown as
Okay, that's an internal, that's the internal thing, and you increased it by 3%. That's what, okay, so that's not external. That's
Yes.
internal that you allotting to the different departments. Understood. Thank you.
The only one that we, Marty, the only thing that we allot to another department is that WPCA. All right, so, but that is included within the overall amount that we have been getting paid and that we're looking to get paid in the future.
Got it. I know, I thought it was a retainer fee to outside counsel, and I was gonna say, don't pay them the 3%, but since they're paying us, they should pay us the 3%. I understand.
Okay.
Elaine. And then Michael Barker.
Okay, thanks. So just to be clear, the 390 is here and then we just bill it in kind service to the WPCA, Maria. We just put that in with their bill. So we won't see it again in the WPCA. We just see it here.
You do see 35 in the WPCA bill.
Okay, but we see the full 390 here.
With a reduction of 35. It's supposed to be, the retainer's 355.
Okay.
365 less the 35.
So you put the retainer there. Okay. Just Dan, what I was asking before is at one point you had Mario come to us to explain that very elaborate appeal that he was working on.
Yes.
And it would be nice to have that loop closed at some point to just tell us how it worked out.
Have the loop closed. We would love to have the loop closed. I think I think that, well, I shouldn't say, I'll defer to Jim to bring you up to date on that, because I don't have the, to Jim Nugent to bring you up to date on that. But I can, there has been some settlement that they've been working on. I think there's one of the cases that went up to, that's been up in New Britain. I don't believe we have a decision on, so, or hasn't been completed. So, but I can get you that.
Okay, thank you. And then I think my other 2 questions on this are probably more directed to Maria. Maria, earlier it was said that the Board of Ed operational audit was charged to the town attorney. I'm trying to look at your year-to-date actual and figure out where that went. Did it come out of the $60,000 retainer for the outside counsel?
Yes.
And do we know what the breakout is? What went to that? What went to the outside counsel?
Yes, that did come from the outside counsel, and you need to know, you want to know how much we pay the auditor?
Yeah.
Can't move the 2 mouses here.
I think it's 36,000 thus far.
I think so, but yeah.
Mice, by the way.
What's that?
Yeah, I'm having mouse problems.
So we basically had 24,000, not even 23, and well, roughly 24,000 to the outside counsel out of the 60.
Which we haven't used. only used for the audit.
Okay, so if the only thing we've paid out of that is the audit and we keep going on historical, why would we keep that at 60?
Actually, the audit was taking place last year. We paid them last year, last fiscal year.
The 1920 fiscal year,
Yes.
not the, well, that's, no, that, okay. So not the 2021 that we're in.
No, that we paid them 36,000 last year. We had an encumbrance at the end of the year, which we paid subsequent to the year end. Since the contract is in place, we could encumber the full amount and paid it in this fiscal year, but it went against last year's fiscal.
Okay, so it went against the 1920, and for the
Yeah.
2021 year, how much of that have we used of that 60?
I don't believe we used any.
Okay, so we're still budgeting 60,000
Yeah, we
for
haven't
the
used-
next year.
Yeah, we haven't spent any of it.
Well, I
Okay.
think, forgive me, I wonder if I'm wrong though, with outside counsel, we don't necessarily know what we need outside counsel for until
Right,
we need
until
it,
we,
right?
right, but we base
So-
everything else on historical, so I'm just
No,
questioning
I know,
why
but I
this
think
isn't.
Yeah,
I'm
just
pretty
one.
impressed that they've
I
been
just have-
managing everything in-house.
But this is not necessarily part of it. And I'd also like Dan to explain to me how an accounting fee for an audit, operational review, whatever we want to call it, ends up being charged to the legal department.
It was, at the time that the auditor was engaged, the question was where it could be paid from. I indicated that I thought that we had money in our account that we could use to pay it. And that was the basis upon which the town council approved it.
Okay, I always thought that when we approve a department, it has specific uses and we are not allowed to transfer from one department to the other. Transferring an expense from one department to the other that's completely unrelated would also strike me as odd. Just because an account has money doesn't mean that's where we use it. We ante up at the end of the year, some come in over, some come in under, we make supplementals, we get money returned to us.
I
But
hear
it
you.
strikes me that this is the same as paying a bill that was from one department out of another. And we can't transfer that way, so how can we suddenly move bills that way?
I hear you.
Okay, that was my only question. Thank you.
And I like your car. It's
Now, you
think that's
can't
her
say, "Oh, this is a private jet. I'm flying someplace. I was just in space. Now I'm flying somewhere." You'll have to see where I fly to in our next one. I'm going to change it to where I got to.
Well, just be careful because when your hand comes up on the window, it looks like a different hand. And I had to look twice. I sent you the screenshot.
Oh, that's
you
funny.
I thought you were throwing up the bird. We're good. Michael, you're next, and then Mark.
I hate to follow that.
You know.
And Chair Michael Barker, Board of Finance. First, Attorney Shopik, Don Cantafio is appearing or was appearing in front of Mount Fuji on the main island of Japan.
okay.
That's why I think the cherry blossoms were in front of the mountain. I think I'd just ask, and this is probably a Maria question more than a you question, but in the line of inquiry that Elaine was pursuing there, just that we see that these outside council numbers broken out somehow. It's just it's a lot of noise in one number, and it makes the number in 2019 particularly look suspicious, but I suspect there was just additional counsel hired for good reasons. So I would love to see that before we sign off on a flat 60 going forward. But I suspect what we'll do is look at it and see that this is all backed up. But right now it's hard to see.
I believe that those funds were having to do with the tax appeals for the attorney.
Yeah, that's my recollection.
Maria can
Nice to see it
pull that out.
broken out of the retainer. Yeah.
Yes, fiscal year 19, the attorneys that are dealing with the appeals for the digital were paid out of there. And it was probably over 150,000, I believe, that year. And then 2020, there was actually 30,000 left over in that budget.
Right.
So we didn't spend all of it, except we did spend the 36,000 for the auditor.
Okay, cool. So yeah, if we could just, I mean, it seems like it's a straightforward thing just to see the outside counsel on its own little line. Just to know how we're budgeting for the 60. That would be great. Thank you.
I'm sorry, you want it by detail? I'm not sure.
So we've got this one number, so for services and fees professionals, that has every attorney that we hire every year, more or less, in this area. And what I'd like to see is the retained 3 attorneys in one place and other attorneys in another place. Because right now it's impossible for me to look at this report, at least so far as I'm reading it, and to know anything except that we are budgeting 60 this year. And from what you've said, what we had in 2020 was $36,000 of expense, and this year we have $60,000 left. It would just be nice to see that all in one place so that we can look at apples to apples, column to column. It's just an unusual way of accounting for it, and I can understand why. It would just be nice to see it this different way.
Yeah, in the past, we used that other account 522203, which is the ancillary. The suggestion was to combine it, but I could definitely change that.
Well, I apologize. I wasn't there at that time, and I would have voted against it, frankly. Thank you.
Mark, I saw your hand was up prior.
No, I think Michael hit upon my question, so I'm all set.
Awesome. Any other questions for the town attorney? All right, Mr. Shopek, thank you.
That's it.
That was it.
Have a good one. I just moved to Angkor Wat in Cambodia, so it's been a nice day, nice travel day. Take care.
I'm still stuck at the office, so we're all good.
All right, take care.
Bye now. And we have 2 more scheduled for today. We have Stefan Lynn Nielsen and Louis Sheehy from the library up next on page 407. Hi, Stefan.
Hello. It's only going to be me.
Oh, okay. Would you like to walk us through
Certainly.
your goals and accomplishments?
I'll walk you through the highlights, yes. So we naturally had a setback last year as a result of the closure, and the plans for last year, we were only able to progress on some of them. There were a number of different projects that we had going on, which unfortunately were going to have to be placed on hold. And including things like installing video cameras and things of that nature, which were removed from the budget at the sort of last minute due to the fact that there were budget constraints. So moving forward, though, we do want to move ahead with those kinds of projects. I'll talk a little bit more about them specifically when we get to the budget side of things. However, if you look at the goals and objectives for 2021, 2022, the top 2 goals: first, bring back the library to pre-COVID functions, including in-person programming, meeting room usage, and restoration of operating hours. That, and the second one, which is rehabilitate the Friends of the Library Group with new membership and focus, are going to be the major goals for us this coming year. To say the least, bringing us back up and running is going to be a big process from where we were. We have already started doing operating hours again, and we're adding Saturdays this coming weekend. But getting to the part where we can do full time at both locations with full contingent of staff is going to be a longer running process. That said, we will accomplish that, and we're going to be moving ahead with those plans. I should note, before all this happened, we were having a banner year. The stats and figures that we had going into February of 2020 were actually really good, and we were very depressed to find out that we were going to be shut down. So hopefully we can pick up where we left off and return to getting more and more people have library cards and more people checking out books. Any questions regarding the goals and accomplishments?
Marty, and then Michael. And Marty, you're muted. There you
Sorry
go.
about that. First one today. I was going to ask a question about some of the line items. Should I wait or should I do that now?
I'll go through the line items like one at a time, and that way you can kind of respond and when we get there. Would that be okay?
Works. Go ahead.
Sure. Sorry about that. Early.
Michael, did you have a question now, or did you want to wait?
Same kind of question. Yeah, I'll wait.
Okay. Go ahead, Stefan.
Well, 101 is full-time salary, and 102 are full-time and part-time salaries. 101 I don't have any direct control over, but 102 we are asking for a increase to the part-time salary. Right now it is set at $13 an hour, and we're asking for an increase to $14 an hour. This is due to the fact that the state instituted like the $15 minimum wage increases over several years. This coming year, all of the salaries will be set to like a minimum of $13 an hour for the minimum wage, which includes everybody, including our student shelvers, among other things. Meaning that we would have our circ tech staff, which are like our front desk staff with duties such as handling money and taking care of their individual workspaces, customer service skills, getting the same salary as the same per hourly wage as the student shelvers who don't have those type of more intensified duties. And to that extent, we've always had a separation between the amount of money that the student shelvers were being paid and the permanent part-time staff. So the request was, we had this request last year where we would ask for that money to be implemented so that there would be a differentiation in between the salary structure. And that was approved, but we did not act upon it until not for this past year, since we didn't have any student shelters to speak of due to the COVID shutdown. However, this is going to be something that is going to rear its head again this coming year, and we're therefore asking for it to be put in again. I should note the 102 account and the 105 account, which follows, which is the full-time overtime account. Both include money for Sundays, which is part of the calculation there. Now, both full-time and part-time staff make a certain amount on each Sunday that we operate, and so part of that increase, part of the cost that you see in there is reflective of that. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, my question, sorry, this is Marty Isaac again. I've been an advocate, as you know, for full-time Sunday. And do I understand then that the difference between, just the difference between what you requested and what the first selectman granted, if I put both line items together, that's 24,000. That's the difference between being open 24 Sundays versus the 52 Sundays. Is that fair to say?
Yes, I think it's about 8,000 from part-time and like 12 or 13,000 from full-time. Yeah, 14,000 from full-time.
Yeah, and then are there, aside from those two elements, if you were going to open on Sunday for the 52 weeks, are there any other costs? I'm just trying to get a clearer understanding in my head, the incremental cost to move from 24 to 52 Sundays. This is 24,000 if I put these two together. Are there any other costs that I'd need to consider?
No, the building costs and things of that nature stay the same regardless. The only cost is having people in the building to manage the desks and things of that nature.
Okay.
And I should say that we don't operate on 52 Sundays. We operate 48 Sundays because you have like Easter Sunday and things of that nature. But to that end, yes, it would be about twice the cost of what it is inside the budget right now.
I see. I guess the only other point I'd make, and it's not your issue, it's really from the negotiating team. I'm disappointed that in this round of negotiations, we weren't able to figure out the salaries more like how a Starbucks is able to operate, and people working Sundays in Starbucks aren't getting significantly more than people working days. And I'm disappointed because we didn't accomplish that. It the first selectman took the reasonable action, I understand, of reducing the number of Sundays we can operate because we're operating on a real close, tight budget assessment. I'm hopeful we can find money to open more Sundays, but I think the real issue here is that we didn't fix that issue on the last negotiation, and I think that's wrong. I think in private industry all over the place, when people work at local places, retailers and others are not getting this giant increase because they happen to work a Sunday. And I understand it's government versus retail, but I think that's disappointing. And I think the people that pay for it are seniors and others. I don't know where we'll come out if we can do more Sundays or not. I totally understand why the first selectman did as she did. She has to manage this full budget, and it's challenging to do it. And 24 is better than 0. I totally get that too, but I'm disappointed that we weren't able to accommodate that.
Any other questions regarding the Sunday hours or related expenses or the $14 an hour increase? Okay. The next major line item is 205, which is program expenses. Program expenses essentially includes our various different consortium memberships for our database structures, things of that nature. The CT Connecticut Library Consortium, for which we actually get a lot of discounts, including when we're purchasing books. It's actually a huge benefit to the town. So that part, those memberships are actually quite crucial to what we do. And then the major part of it is programming money for children's, adults, and teens. It goes, the money that we put into those programs goes a long way. We know how to stretch the dollar when it comes to figuring out how to get some quality programs for kids. And even during this time when we've been closed, we've been doing a lot of online programs through Zoom and Facebook Live. We have everything from pajama story time for the kids, which is very popular, to teen trivia nights and things of that nature, and programs for adults as well. I can't stress enough that the money isn't much in comparison to what the town gains as a result of it. Any questions regarding the programming budget? The next part is the office supplies 401 account. This includes all of our regular processing supplies, such as labels, tapes, book covers, things of that nature, everything that goes on the books to protect them, and the DVD cases that we have for DVDs that go out. Also includes the printer supply contract, which everything from toner, things of that nature. And I'm actually not, and anything else that we need for the building. This budget has stayed the same for years. We have managed to work within it and foresee that being the same moving forward. After that is sort of mistitled program supplies, which is not quite that. This is our collection budget, which is 402. This is the major contribution from the town in terms of the collection for the library. We use this money in order to purchase everything from books, periodicals, media, digital titles through our online platforms like Overdrive and Hoopla, and our database, and the databases that we have accessible for the public. It is, the bread and butter of the library. I will say Trumbull loves to read. We have 80% of our checkouts are physical books, which is huge in comparison to most other libraries that I've worked at. Usually the DVDs were much more popular, but in Trumbull, they check out books like crazy. So we would like to continue that. Any questions?
Yes, Michael
Michael Barker.
Thank you, Lainey. I spoke without being recognized, but thank you, Madam Chair. And,
No, that's okay. I just saw the hands go up. Sorry.
all
And then
good.
Elaine is next.
It was my bad. And thank you, Director. I wanted to ask just a question about this line. I want to second everything Marty said about being a fan of the library without keeping people here, but I think we have one of the best libraries in the state. I mean, it's just a really wonderful system, and the way that y'all pivoted, particularly with regard to what you were able to do for children's programs during the pandemic. I just want to, with my 6-year-old, we just want to give you a huge shout out. You do so much with so little. But I wanted to ask you, you gave a little hint here, how you determine the division of spending in this particular line. So people are reading, but people are, I think reading, I certainly read more digitally now than I used to. And if the book is available on Kindle, I'll take it over the hard copy every single time. So is that distribution shifting, and does the cost come down as we move into digital, or does the cost stay the same for more content, or how does that work?
That's a really good question, actually. I should note last year was not a normal year. We especially at the beginning of the COVID crisis, we shifted all of our remaining collection resources from physical materials to digital. So we increased the amount of purchasing for our online digital platforms immensely, and I think that received a lot of good responses from our patrons. But that said, we are anticipating that 10% to 20% of the people that shifted to using just online platforms exclusively probably are going to remain that way. That said, people really like their books. We are anticipating a good resurgence of number of people that are going to be going back to physical materials. We've looked at data about this for a number of years now. While older patrons tend to actually read more online digital content, younger patrons actually prefer physical copies to books. Yeah, that's a pretty surprising thing, but it's that's come out in the literature several times now, and we do move it around with the times. We are still ordering a lot of digital content as a result of what's going on. And there's been some people have called and said, I really prefer this moving forward. But usually it's very, it's a precise thing where people are no longer checking out or seeking out for instance, audiobooks or audio titles anymore. And that's becoming something that you're seeing far more prevalently used in the digital content. And I think that we'd sooner see the collection move for those type of items that are naturally are already a digital kind of content to begin with. But books are going to be here to stay for a good long while, I have a feeling. The cost structure actually is pretty much the same, or sometimes even worse. We have certain titles like, for instance, the Harry Potter series is a perfect example. The company that puts out the Harry Potter series, they put a digital limit on the number of times that item can be checked out before it disappears. So you have to buy a new copy of that digital title. And so and it's not just the evil Harry Potter that does this, but there are other authors and titles that are also very popular that are doing the same thing. And this is something that's sort of being played out on a national scale. There's been lawsuits between everyone from the public libraries to the publishers to the authors themselves, trying to figure out how this is going to evolve moving forward. But to a certain extent, there is an ease of use aspect that I think is going to drive this in terms of especially things like audiobooks and music. I think people are expecting to be able to use that more frequently in a digital platform, partly because their cars no longer have CD players and things of that nature. But at the same time, there's a strong industry out there for the physical materials themselves, and that hasn't gone away yet. So I know that's a very convoluted answer to your question, but it is something that we pay a lot of attention to. The sort of figures that you see in there are our best estimates for how we allocate our current layout. But we have a lot more. We have a good deal of flexibility when it comes to that, and but we are also kind of forced to go along with whatever the current economic structure for these books are. So if they become more expensive, we end up buying less of them.
Thank you very much.
Elaine?
Okay, hi, Stefan.
Yes.
My question on both the program expense and the program supplies, when you deal with the reductions, will you, at least on the program supplies, put it equally among all of the types of media that you have? And
Yes.
on the program supplies, you might not have that ability since some things are going to cost a set amount.
Yes. Yeah. No, we will. We meet with the staff that are doing purchasing. Toward after during the summertime to discuss the new budgets for the year, and we lay out exactly how far we are going to allow them to spend. The point being to make sure that we address the needs of each population or interest group that we have that is going to the library, whether we're talking about children's books or the board books that everybody loves, or nonfiction materials. How much are we going to spend on travel books? That type of thing. But we try and make sure that we address the needs in our collection and the needs of the town at the same time.
Okay, and just to, you mentioned earlier that you wanted to start installing cameras, and in this fiscal year they
Yes.
fell by the wayside, but you know that the money has to be, the cameras have to be bought this year.
Yes. So that is something I was going to get to. In the capital outlay account, which is 888 further down. So there is the cost for the cameras. We did receive approval to have the money made available through savings that we incurred to the part-time account, and that would instead be purchased from there instead. The move is going forward with, we've already gotten the purchase order, it's been sent. I'm still waiting on a date for an installation process to begin, but kind of right now is the ideal time to do it while we still have pockets in our schedule for them to do this work without the people being there.
Okay, so there wasn't capital outlay for it last year, but you're going to find it from some other place.
Well, it's already been approved by the town for it to come out of the part-time account. 102.
Thank you.
Yes. Aside from that, we did receive some savings in 802, for instance. We saved, I think, $2,000 or thereabouts by redoing the way that there was a part of a package that we have through our catalog that we were able to sort of rig internally into our database, which saved us about $2,000 a month in that regard. Likewise, in 901, this is our contractual renewal account. We received some savings based on better cost structures that the vendors offered. And therefore we have about $4,000 savings as compared to what it was just last year.
Mary, did you have a question?
Yeah, just quickly, I'm sorry, back up to the programming. You do say you're using the trust funds and the Friends of the Library. How much do you use roughly per year? I know this year was different, but what amount gets added onto your budget through those two outlets?
Combined with the town, the overall programming budget usually is about $35,000 to $40,000.
And then just quickly, I know I had asked you last year about the licensing fee and that you have to have that per building, so you can't combine with another department. But is the senior commission, and you may not know this, but the senior, they have $280 that they spend on licensing for movies. So I'm assuming they must have a different package or not as open to what you have.
Yeah, I'm not sure which vendor that they use. There are a couple of different copyright vendors that provide this sort of service. But yes, you can buy, and it also is based on the number of people that are expected to come to a program. So since we are able to host more people than the senior center, that's a big difference there. It is a these are very restrictive contracts. Like we can't like have the Parks and Rec department, for instance, use our license for this purpose, or have it done outside of the building. It has to be internal to the library, even if we're doing it. So it's questionable. But when we do use it, it is very popular. We have one of our programs is an anime club which is popular with the teenagers, and they get to watch anime TV shows and movies, and then they discuss what they liked about it and things of that nature. It is worth the cost over the course of a whole year. Yes.
Thank you. And the program has been amazing, especially over the COVID. So thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Do you have anything else you'd like to go over with us?
No, that's it.
All right. I have to say I got online for some of the programming myself, and they were great. The story times are awesome.
Thank you.
Anybody else with any other questions? I got a text from Kate Donahue. Timing is off for her, so we're going to move TCTV off until next time. Maria is going to do transit district with us, and then I have a couple of follow-up questions, and we'll probably call it a day from there. Working on timing. I see Lara Walden was on. She just popped off. Oh, no, there you are. Hi, Lara. Are you good with 8:30 next week on Tuesday?
Yes, that works for me. So I will see everybody then.
Okay, we'll start with TCTV at 8:30 next Tuesday.
Great. Thank you.
Maria, you want to do transit district? That is on page 161. Oh, and I forgot to say thank you to Stefan. I'm starting to lose it. Maria, you're still on mute.
Challenging with the mouse still. So the transit district is a budget of 44,084. It's been the same for many years. It has to do with the Greater Bridgeport Transit District, the busing that comes through the town, and we pay them $44,000 a year. We've been talking about that. I'm not sure if it will increase because they're supposed to be having more of a presence in Trumbull because of the Amazon and a few other businesses. But I haven't got any information at this point if there will be an increase. So we left it the same for now.
Any questions on the transit district? It was pretty straightforward. All right, thank you, Maria. So we managed to get through quite a bit today. I just want to make sure I'm clear on the follow-up that we're looking for. I will send it by email, but if I missed anything in this list, if you would just let me know. I had a follow-up with Mr. Dunn on permit fee breakouts, commercial versus residential, and comparison to surrounding towns on our fee schedule. Estimates for soundproofing in the kennel and online licensing for the animal control. And for the police department, the offset to liability insurance with their new accreditation, a breakout of the holiday pay, salaries overall, training costs due to new bill that started in July, the new state bill, and special agency projections from 2021 and 2 and 2020 and 2021. Bill?
I actually failed to mention that I think we can probably build a VOT solution for the dog licensing piece during my presentation. I had that as a note and I forgot to do that. So I'll follow up with Lynn and also the town clerk's office to see what is required for that.
I think they said that the limitation right now was the credit card. That's what Mary said when we got to town clerk. But Maria's working on that.
Okay, yep, we could talk to our credit card vendor.
Vinny liked the town profile and wanted to see that included in the budget books moving forward. And then Paul had asked for the police department to give us a ballpark estimate of what it would take for the police academy, the Citizens Police Academy to happen. In emergency management, we already touched upon.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Michael.
I don't think you mentioned, what do you call it? Recruitment costs. Any cost associated with recruitment, since we're having recruitment issues?
For the police department.
For the police department, yes.
But I think that's in HR.
Okay, wherever it goes, I want to know what it is associated with the police department.
All right, I will put that on a note to ask Tom McCarthy next week when we do human resources.
All right, I'll make it.
I'll also put it in the follow-up for the police department.
Right. The chief was looking at his paperwork like he was going to come up with something, so maybe he would have an answer as well.
Okay, Elaine, did you have something that I missed?
No, but I was going to suggest two things and I think the suggestion that the profile be made more available, the town profile. I don't know if the chief or if that could come out on the town website. It's good information, it's interesting information, and maybe there's a home for it somewhere on the town website. And the other thing, when Bill just said about being able to figure out a way to do the dog licenses online and the credit cards, there obviously are departments already taking credit cards. But once we solve that, I wonder if we're allowed to use the automated system, phone system, where Vicky calls out on emergency information to remind people it's dog licensing month, or is that like not a usable reason it can be used? I thought now that we kind of bought it, we could do what we wanted, or more than when it was the state system. And that would be an ideal way to hit every household, and no one could say, well, I didn't know. I think you send emails and phone calls, right, Vicky?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I would defer to Bill on that because it's, that is an emergency system, and I do consider what we're living through right now as an emergency. And I have certainly had put other things in my messages, obviously, with the COVID information. So I can't answer that question. Maybe Bill has a better idea of that system.
Right. I would say that we try to be judicious in our messaging. The system is allowed to be used for our community alerts, but obviously we don't want to be calling people all the time. That being said, we can also use the town website, and there are several
Social
thousand.
media, other promotions.
Sure. Yep, several thousand people subscribe to the news feed on the town website as well. I think it's like 3,300 people or something like that.
So
So there are different ways.
we continue to encourage people to sign up for those updates from our town website. That is really the best way to receive information through emails or however you choose to receive it. So we have picked up, an additional number of people who have signed up through this last year, but I continue to put in my messages, in the email part of my messages, asking people to sign up for these types of notices. And we did do a letter just to follow up to what we were discussing before to our seniors, because we know our seniors, at least a good percentage of the older seniors, are not on the internet. So during the year, we did send a letter to all the seniors in town and 2 postcards providing them with information as well, because it just was another way to reach our seniors who, use mail more than they use email. So.
Just sort of an interesting, I just kicked up on my news feed as you're talking about that the Royce Apartments in Trumbull just sold for $82 million. Was that the old Avalon? Started out Avalon, now became Royce?
Exactly.
Just sold for $82 million, which is one of the largest real estate transactions this year in Connecticut.
Yep. And that will be a boost into our grand list. So.
Right, because they can't argue about the price, they just paid it.
That's right. Exactly.
Let's see them appeal that.
I checked that as soon as I saw it, Elaine.
Forget that was it.
All right, so back into emergency management. We already had our follow-up about the VOC training, and that's in the MetroCog long-term recovery, how that fell into that. We wanted to know if the trailer could go into COVID funding. We were going to find out some information about that. Grant follow-up, there was $18,000 to purchase. I think I got that wrong. It was $18,000 to renovate versus purchasing a new one for the trailer. And we wanted to look at a cost benefit analysis on those signs, correct? Technology, historical, and then page 93. That's what I have in that note.
Lainey, I think that the repair was like 8,000 and she said a new trailer was a few $100,000. So we asked whether that was more appropriate in the next capital bond.
Okay, capital.
I think that was the comparison. Maria's shaking her head, so I think I got that one right.
All right.
Just so you should all know that that trailer was actually in the capital plan for somewhere in the neighborhood of $800,000.
That's a big difference from a couple of hundred.
That's the stripes urban assault
Unless she's
vehicle.
talking about something different.
That's a building.
The small version of a trailer. I don't know, but that's. I believe that was the number that it was in there at one point, was for 800,000.
Yeah, it was a few years back.
You could have been talking a minivan.
I mean, a minivan.
Is this a custom Winnebago?
Well, we're
all I get is the visual of stripes and the urban assault vehicle.
While we're talking about the fire marshal, the other item that they needed was that other, the signage.
The sign trailer?
Right, we did pay, I did find out, we paid $5,000 a month for 2 years, for two items for 1 month. And it was charged to COVID account, to FEMA. So it's getting reimbursed.
Okay.
The rental.
And then we were going to follow up about the Board of Education Munis Department and some numbers of what it might look like to combine those two, and if there was any savings to be had there.
The Board of Ed is already a department of the town. It would be easy to do, just, there is probably going to be some kind of crosswalk between our chart of accounts and their chart of accounts. But, there's got to be a buy-in from the Board of Ed.
Okay. Those are good follow-ups to for next week. if we can, Phyllis, if you're still on and listening, if we can take the schedule and condense it. The only thing I would ask is that we put Trumbull Community Television at 8:30. And push back Lee Goodman 15 minutes. Thank you. So if we could push EMS back 15 minutes when we get started, start with Trumbull Community Television, and then go on through the day. But we clicked off 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 departments for next week already. Does anybody else have any other issues they'd like to talk about in regards to the budget or questions that they had?
So Lainey may want to move Lee for 9 or 8:45, and then maybe George. You may want to spend a little more time with Lee. So you want to move George to 9:45 maybe?
That sounds good.
Okay.
Lainey, there was
We
one
should
more.
have plenty of time to adjust in the middle.
There's one more item that it might be of some value to put in your notes that Marty mentioned earlier, and that is at some point in time, hopefully, it could happen during the budget process, but maybe not. An update as to what are the alternatives we have in the future for the WPCA issue? And who are the point people that are charged with moving that issue forward, and how is it going to happen so that we have some clear direction in the not too distant future?
Okay, perhaps we can make that a discussion item for our next regular meeting.
Sure.
That way we won't do it during our budget discussions, but before we get to the budget, I think that works.
Yep, it's fine.
Okay. Maria, remind me when we go through, what are we supposed to put on for next time that we're going to put that on? And then I have the list of follow-up questions to go to the Board of Education. Did anybody have anything else that they had not sent in follow-up? Our next meeting with them is on the 18th. I'd like to get that to them tonight.
I do have an item I want to send to them. If you want, I will write it down and email it to you when we're done here.
Yes, please. I like to be able to copy and paste.
Sure, no problem.
Thank you. If nobody has anything else, it's 4:11, and I will understand that it's unanimous consent that everybody wants to go for the afternoon.
So moved.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. Thanks, Kate.